Hey, it's your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. Zooming in on a little bit more in depth on a very important topic, and that relates to the manipulation tactics of the covert narcissist, and that is that of cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance essentially occurs when there is a disparity, a difference between really what your feelings, your emotions, your true values are, and really truly how they conflict with one's behavior. So, in other words, it's doing and behaving and acting in ways that are contradictory to what one is truly feeling, experiencing, and essentially coming from a source of truth within them. And this creates what is known as basically a psychological discomfort or cognitive dissonance. And I find that it's quite common, especially those who are in a support or supply role to a covert narcissist, that they experience quite a bit of this cognitive dissonance, this feeling of separation, a gap. Just feeling like there's a certain divide between them. And in order to perpetuate and continue the relationship in a state of feeling of normalcy, a feeling of balance, they need to make up for the difference. They need to fill the gap. They need to fill the void. They oftentimes take on that role themselves in order to keep everything from caving in or exploding. But this can create very much a feeling of distrust within the self, a feeling like something is wrong and I can't quite put my finger on it. And, this can go on for quite some time until it becomes very distraught. And this oftentimes is when people begin to near their rock bottom or feel like they have to absolutely positively do something to change and better their relationship and improve themselves, because their lives are kind of dictated and pivoting around this sort of very uncomfortable or, what people experience as cognitive dissonance in that role as supply. And I had a viewer who made a very poignant comment that they essentially feel like they have to perpetuate that supply role by giving a lot of approval to them, a lot of supply, a lot of admiration, giving them a constant need for attention, but they're essentially doing all the giving and they're not receiving like in return. So it's very important to become aware of this dynamic in your relationship and its impact on you. Because if you are constantly needing to support and feed the emotional needs of others to the detriment of yourself, eventually you're going to become depleted, you're going to become depressed, you're going to become discouraged, you're going to feel resentful, all these negative things which you absolutely positively want to avoid. So number one is acknowledging that this, in essence, is a tactic. So you don't want to fall prey. You don't want to fall into that trap. You want to become aware and use your metacognition, which is really what Dr. Joe Dispenza discusses as making your subconscious or your unconscious thoughts, behaviors, and emotions known. So we've discussed this also on previous videos, where it's essentially like that automatic pilot. We are falling into the same rut, the same groove, and becoming aware of that and saying, you know what, this constant support of this person is now becoming uncomfortable for me. I want to stop falling into this rut. I don't need to constantly support and, feed their ego, feed their pathology. I'm going to stop this now. I don't need to perpetuate that, because in essence, this is how the narcissist essentially gets under your skin, gets into your solar plexus, really kind of takes over your personality. And that is not what is required to survive, or better even yet, to thrive. So if you've become so enmeshed, so entrained by this person to become really adapting to them rather than being yourself, you need to pull back the reins a little bit and declare your boundaries and realize that you absolutely positively need to do this and not feel fearful and not feel guilty and not feel obligated to remain in that role. And even if you're experiencing, a lot of distress from this, realize that you need to kind of emerge and go through a learning process. And, you need to begin your healing process, which number one becomes with awareness, just realizing, wow, I have now become aware of this type of person and the tactics and manipulation that they will ensue, that they will use in order to rope me in order to hook me in order to create that dynamic where I'm underneath and I'm basically a supply to them, and I'm just merely an extension to them rather than being myself, having my own identity, being permitted my own feelings, my own emotions, my own viewpoints, and being permitted to be empowered in this, because that's absolutely positively the truth. You have these things. You are entitled to your own space and not just be subservient to others. So again, it's the lie that the narcissist would sooner perpetuate that you continue in that role, because they're essentially absorbing their energy from you. So you need to pull back and empower yourself. And you do that by awareness of what is going on, and, pull back and establish your boundaries and become more aligned, basically meaning aware of your thoughts and feelings, and then have your actions more in tune with those. So just, people might go into a situation where they have to, fake it, how are you feeling? Oh, I'm feeling great, even though you might just be getting into the groove of the day. But eventually, your emotions and your statements are going to come into alignment. So, in other words, what you see is what you get. How you truly feel is truly how you're acting. And that's where that's the space you need to operate in. So, and we go into a lot of videos about how to, become empowered and reclaim your authentic self. So that is really one of the first steps. And I know it's just really one of the baby steps, but we're going to be developing this so you can just really get a feel for how important it is to live in alignment with your true feelings, your true needs, your true interests, and be able to vocalize these and do this so you feel safe within your own boundaries, and then are able to obtain respect for that person who you are and not just subservient to a narcissist entrapment cycle. Peace and harmony with you here today. I hope these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.